All right, so let's get started. Well, welcome everyone again to this webinar for Vistas on managing your student loans. I'm Calvin Landrum, a training specialist for the AmeriCorps Vista program, and I'll be your host. I'm joined today by Jessica Knight and Indy Clark from Education Northwest. Together, they'll be providing online support during the presentation and facilitating your questions. Now, student loans can be a complicated and daunting thing to navigate. Trust me, I know, I have some myself. So today we're going to talk about the options you have as a Vista that can help you out with loans both during and after your service. I see that a lot of you guys are pretty new to service. Thanks again for posting in the chat. We've got some people who have been in service for kind of everywhere from about 2 weeks, it looks like, to about a month and a half or 2 months. So that's great. So hopefully this information is very well timed for you. Or also, I mean, really, no matter where you're at in your service year, I hope that you can get something out of this presentation. A quick note, while we do discuss the Education Award during this webinar, for those of you who want more tips regarding the Education Award, we do have another webinar you can access on the Vista campus. And that link will be posted right there into the chat. Let's introduce ourselves. Again, my name is Calvin Landrum. I'm from Waco, Texas, and I've served 2 terms with AmeriCorps NCCC. First as a field team leader, and then later a support team leader on projects throughout the Midwest and the Northeast regions of the U.S. Since wrapping up my NCCC service, I've had multiple positions with the Corporation for National and Community Service, including working side by side with our wonderful co-presenter Jennifer at the VMSU. It's really my pleasure to introduce today's other presenter. From the Vista Member Support Unit, we have Jennifer Brooks, Lead Member Support Specialist. Jennifer Brooks has been working at the VMSU since its opening in October 2007. Before coming to the VMSU, she worked at the Texas Center for Service Learning, which received funding from CNCS, from CNCS's former Learn and Serve program. She earned a bachelor's degree from Goucher College in Towson, Maryland, and a master's degree from University of Texas in Austin. So hello, Jen. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Well, what do you say we get started? I'm going to turn things over to you, and let's jump right in.
Okay, Calvin, thanks a lot. Today we are going to start off by looking at the most common types of student loans. Then we will explore some specific programs to help you postpone your loan payments during service, repay your loans, and potentially even eliminate your loans long term. At the end of the presentation, we will open up the conversation and take questions during a Q&A. So let's jump in. As a Vista, there are 3 important factors to consider when thinking about student loans. The first is your types of loans. The types of loans you have will impact the programs you are eligible for. The second is your decision to select either the Education Award or the stipend. This will impact some of your loan repayment options. And finally, the third is your future career plans. These will impact the possibility of having your loan balance forgiven in the long term. During the presentation, we will address all 3 of these factors. To start out, we'd like to know what type of student loans you have and if any of them are already in forbearance. On the right side of your screen, you'll see a pop-up poll. Please take a moment to fill out the poll questions. Do you know what type of loans you have? And are any of the loans in forbearance or deferment yet?
Cool, yeah. So let's see what everyone has to say. We'll give you guys some time to answer those questions. Let's see. Our first question is, do you know what kind of student loans you have? I know myself, I have federal loans, federal direct loans, I guess. No Perkins loans, no private loans, thank God. And then we have our end-of-year loans in forbearance or deferment. I know mine used to be, but they are not anymore. Jen, you have a lot of education. Do you also have student loans?
Yes, I do, and yes, I have. Mostly now all my loans are federal. I'm actually taking, and that is just something we're going to talk about later in this presentation, the public loan forgiveness. So,
awesome.
Yes, I have federal loans, and yeah, but I am paying on them, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. We're all in the same boat here. All right, so let's close that chat, or sorry, close that poll and see what our answers are. Let's let those calculate, tabulate, and all that good stuff. It's always a fun part, trying to waste time while we're waiting for these to this to pop up. All right, there we go. Cool. So it looks like from our poll, we've got 87 people with federal direct loans, a few people with both federal and private. You know, that's coming in at number 2, so a mix of both. Let's see. Are any of your loans in forbearance or deferment? C, no. The overwhelming majority of you say no. That's actually that's really interesting to me that none of your loans are not in forbearance or deferment. Hopefully you know about the options that you have with your service, but if you don't, we will talk about those in a minute. Yeah, so Jen, I'm going to turn it back over to you. Let's talk about the types of student loans people have.
Sounds good, Calvin. Many of the programs we will be talking about today will only apply to specific types of loans, so it is important you know which types that you have. Let's start off by clarifying some key differences between student loan categories. Broadly, we will be talking about either federal loans or private loans. In the case of all federal loans, funds are borrowed from the federal government, and the most basic difference lies in who actually distributes those funds. For federal direct loan programs, the lender is directly the U.S. Department of Education. Within this category of federal loans, there are several different programs, as you can see in the first column, including subsidized, unsubsidized, and Parent Plus. There is also another type of federal loan called a federal Perkins loan. In this, the lender is actually the school itself. While the government still provides the money, it is the schools and universities that actually distribute the loan funds to the student. Finally, private loans are those borrowed and administered through private lending institutions. Some of these include loans from Discover, Sallie Mae, or loans administered by a bank or credit union. Throughout the presentation, be mindful of which types of loans you have and which loans are eligible for the programs that we discuss. If you are unsure about what types of loans you do have, connect with your loan holder for more information. During service, there are 2 different ways you can postpone your student loan payments depending on which type of loan you have. These are forbearance and deferment. Let's explore both. For those of you who selected the Education Award as the end-of-service benefit, you can put federal student loans into a state of forbearance with the National Service Trust so that you don't have to make loan payments while you're serving as a VISTA. I'll refer to this as National Service Forbearance. Most federally backed student loans qualify for National Service Loan Forbearance. However, there are 2 exceptions to this. First, Parent Plus loans and federal Perkins loans are not eligible for National Service Forbearance. Second, private student loans do not qualify for National Service Forbearance. If you chose the stipend as your end-of-service benefit instead of the Education Award, you are also not eligible for forbearance. If your loans are not eligible, you would want to explore loan deferment, and we will talk about that a little bit more later. The most immediate benefit of having your loans in forbearance is that you don't have to make loan payments. However, even in forbearance, your federal loans will continue to accrue interest. So another great benefit of National Service Forbearance is that once you complete your entire year of service, you can ask the CNCS to pay off the accrued interest. There are a few things to know about the interest accrual payment. It does not happen automatically. You need to submit a request on the MyAmeriCorps to have the interest paid for you. The interest accrual payment is an additional benefit to the Education Award. The payment does not come out of your Education Award balance. The interest accrual payment is considered taxable income, so you'll need to report it as such and be prepared to pay the tax on the payment. We'll come back to tax implications a little later in the presentation. Forbearance does have its limits, so let's review a few things you'll want to keep in mind. National Service Forbearance is only an option if you chose the Education Award. Forbearance and interest accrual payment are contingent upon successful completion of your term of service. If you end service early, you'll not only forfeit the Education Award, but also the forbearance and interest accrual payment. This means you will owe your lender for any interest that accumulated during your forbearance period. VISTA members who extend their service are not eligible to receive an education award during the extension period. Since the education award option is not available, requesting forbearance for existing loans and interest accrual are not available during the extension period either. During an extension, you are only eligible for the end-of-service cash stipend. If you have not already done so and would like to put your federal loans into forbearance, you can find the request form in the My AmeriCorps account shown here. When filling out the request form, if your lender is not listed, click the Institution Not Found link and follow the directions. You should expect to see in your account if your request was accepted by the lender within 3 to 5 business days. After your service is complete, this is also where you will request to have the interest that accrued during forbearance paid off. Typically, the interest accrual payment will also take 3 to 5 business days to process. Make sure you follow the process and timeline carefully so as to avoid fees or late payments. A request for forbearance can be made the old-fashioned way through paper, but be advised that it will take significantly longer to process. If, for whatever reason, you would like to fill out a paper request, call the National Service Hotline directly, and they can guide you through the process. That number is listed on the slide. Let's take a quick second to talk through a scenario that some of you may find yourself in later on down the line. For VISTAs who opt to do a third term of service, you're able to receive what is called a zero-value education award for your third term of service. This means that if you already received 2 education awards, you wouldn't get additional funds, but you would be able to place your loans into forbearance with the National Service Trust and to have the interest paid off at the end of your service term. The important thing to consider in this situation is whether having your loan interest for the year paid off by the National Service Trust would be worth more than the $1,500. If so, the zero-value education award might save you more than the $1,500 cash stipend. For those of you with private student loans, or those who select the cash stipend who don't qualify for National Service Forbearance, there is an option you can explore. It's generally known as loan deferment. Deferment differs from forbearance in a few ways. First, you request deferment directly with your lender. Different lenders may use different names for this, so you might need to explore with them a little. Basically, you want to request that they temporarily defer your payments due to economic hardship created by your low income during your year of VISTA service. Secondly, not all lenders offer loan deferment, and if you find that your lender doesn't, you'll want to explore other options to lower your monthly payments. The third difference between loan deferment and forbearance is that deferment may not offer an option to pay off interest that accrues while the loan is in deferment. For federally subsidized loans, accrued interest may be paid by the Department of Education if the loan is deferred. Check with your lender for specifics. And remember, like forbearance, deferment is not guaranteed. We talked about how you can postpone your loan payments, so now let's talk about ways you can pay them off. There are several options to repay your loans and reduce your payments. Right now, we are going to talk about these options separately, and then later on in the presentation, we are going to talk about ways you can combine some of these options to get the most out of your benefits. If you have multiple loans, you may want to consider loan consolidation. For federal loans, consolidation is a process that allows you to combine one or more federal student loans into one new loan. As a result of consolidating your federal loans, you would only have to make one payment each month on all your federal loans. It also means lowered monthly payments, potential for better interest rates, and access to alternative repayment plans. However, be aware that the amount of time you have to repay your loan could be extended. You can apply for federal direct consolidation loan through studentloans.gov. The process offers both electronic and paper options. Private education loans are not eligible for federal direct consolidation. Since most private education loans do not compete On a price, a private consolidation loan is merely replacing one or more private education loans with another. The main benefit of such a consolidation is also obtaining a single monthly payment. Also, since the consolidation resets the term of the loan, this may reduce the monthly payment at a cost, of course, of increasing the total interest paid over the lifetime of the loan. For more information on the private loan consolidation, visit the link we've placed in the chat window. For those with federal direct loans, you may want to consider some of the different income-based repayment options that are available through the government. Income-based repayment plans adjust your monthly loan payment as a fixed percentage of your income and family size. To qualify for an income-based repayment plan, you need to have some degree of financial hardship, meaning that the balance of your loans needs to represent a significant portion of your annual income. You can enroll in an income-driven plan at any time, and your payment will only go up once your income does. If you enroll now while in service, payments under an income-based plan can be as low as $0 or $5, since VISTAs live at the poverty level. The upside to an income-driven plan is that your monthly payments are lower, often much lower. Another benefit is that these payment plans are set up to forgive the balance of your loan after 20 to 25 years, depending on which program you are eligible for. However, one limit to be aware of is that if you stretch out the time over which you repay the loan, more interest will accrue and you might end up paying back more in interest in the long run. To apply, you must submit an application called the Income-Driven Repayment Plan Request. You can submit the application online at studentloans.gov or on a paper form, which you can obtain from your loan servicer. Many of you may wish to use your education award to help you pay your student loans. If you selected the education award, you can start using the award to make payments on federal loans once your year of service is complete. After completing service, you will have access to a link in your MyAmericorps account to create an education award payment request. On the form, you will enter the payment type, the amount authorized, and then the institution where the payment will be directed. When you click on Submit, a notice will be sent electronically to your loan institution. A record of your request will appear in your account home page. The school or loan holder will complete their portion of the form and return it electronically to CNCS. They will fill in the amount for which you are eligible if the request is for the current educational expenses, or they will provide the payoff amount and loan type if the request is for a student loan. Once you initiate the request, the processing time will depend on your institution and when they take action. If you submit a request and don't hear back, you should follow up with your lender. It's important to note that this process cannot be automated, so you will have to create a request for each payment that you wish to make. If for some reason the institution denies the request for payment, they should have entered comments explaining the reason for the denial. Each time you use the education award, it will count as income that will be taxed. So let's pause and check in about tax liability. Calvin, can you start us off?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. Cool. Yeah, so we just covered a lot of information. We covered what income-based repayment, payments consolidation, and now we're going to switch over to taxes. And we do see your questions coming into that Q&A box. Just keep them coming, and we'll queue them up to be answered near the end or throughout the presentation. So to get started talking about taxes, we do have another couple poll questions for you. On the right side of your screen, you'll see it pop up, so please take a minute to fill out those poll questions. The first one is, have you done your own taxes before? I know myself, I mean, I've been doing my taxes by myself for a long time, but maybe that's not the case for everyone, so we're curious, we want to know. And the second question is, how much of your education award do you have to use to receive a 1099 miscellaneous form? So this is a question that you may or may not know the answer to. If you don't, that's okay, but curious to know who's done their research, who knows the answer to that question. There's four options there: anything over $0, anything over $600, anything over $100, or the entire award. And I guess we also, our option is, what on earth is a 1099 miscellaneous form? So please, take a second to answer those questions. And it looks like the poll's ended, so we'll take a look at those results. All right, so have you done your own taxes before? More of you said yes than no, so that's good. Everyone's already, looks like they're ahead of the curve. And how much of your education award do you have to use? Let's see, we got a lot of, what on earth is a 1099 miscellaneous form? That's good. Okay, good. Now I know where we're at. We've got one person that said anything over $0. So if you look at our next slide, 20 of you got it right and said anything over $600. So, as you all know, the Education Award and any interest payments made on your behalf during service are considered taxable income. As we move through this next section of the webinar, please remember that we're approaching the topic of taxes as it specifically relates to your education award, and that we won't be able to address questions about taxes in general. We are not tax experts, so therefore I'm not legally allowed to give you tax advice, but I can explain a little bit about how taxes work. So the first big piece of information to take away is that any use of the education award is considered taxable income. You will be taxed on the amount that was used for the tax year that it was used. So what this means is that if a year goes by and you don't use any of the education award, you don't have to pay taxes on it. But let's say next year you decide to use $1,000 of your education award, you'll be taxed on that $1,000 only for next year. So again, your education award is only taxed in the amount that you used it in the year that it was used. So while you'll still need to report any amount of the education award that's used when you file taxes, a separate 1099 miscellaneous form will generate only if you use $600 or more in a given year. This is a miscellaneous income form that you'll need to include with your tax filing to document where this extra income came from. So that kind of explains, what a 1099 is. Think about, at the end of the year when you receive your W-2 from your employer, it's similar to that. It just, it's a way of keeping track of income, and it lets you know, hey, IRS, this is where the $600 came from. This is also the case for interest accrual payments during the year that you receive those payments. So for most of you, if you submit for that interest accrual payment next year, you'll get a 1099 form for that also. But also only if your interest accrual payments are over $600. If it's less than $600, a form won't generate, but you'll still be responsible for that, for the taxes on that amount of money. So again, only over $600 will you get a form. All right, so let's take a second to consider tax liability. VISTAs, in general, tend to have a lot of questions about tax liability. We get them all the time at PSO. We get them all the time in our emails. So let's talk about it for a second. Now, we understand that you would like a specific estimate for your tax liability when using the education award, and wouldn't we all? But we want to clarify why it's not possible to give a standard universal estimate. This is because your tax liability depends on several personal and situational factors. What we can show you is a list of those primary factors that impact your tax liability so that you can make your own estimate. As a general rule, your tax liability will always be tied to your income during a given year. The education award is considered income, so when you use it, it will be added to whatever your annual income is for that year. So let's break this down. For a given year that you use all or part of your education award, what you owe in taxes will be dependent on the 5 factors we have listed on this slide. The first one being your total annual income during the year that you used the education award. Second factor, the amount of the education award that you used. The third, any tax credits or deductions which would reduce your taxable income. Number 4 is the federal tax rate. And number 5 is the tax rate of the state that you earn the income in. Now, I'm from Texas, and Texas doesn't have a state income tax, so number 5 may or may not apply to you. So your total annual income plus the amount of the award that you used, along with tax credits and deductions based on your personal circumstances, gives you your total taxable income. That total taxable amount then gets taxed at the federal tax rate and taxed at the state tax rate of where you earn the income. So, that was just said a lot. These are just the most basic factors, but as you can see, there's many unknown variables going on. So let's take a look at how this might play out in a couple hypothetical examples. So let's start with a VISTA who just finished service in 2015. Let's say this VISTA had $10,000 of income in 2015. For 2015 in one version, the one on the left of the scenario, they only used $500 of their education award that year. In the other version, the one on the right, they used their entire award, $5,775. In both cases, they have about $8,000 in credits and deductions, but as you can see, the added income from using the entire education award increases the overall taxable income that they are responsible for. Now, this is a hypothetical example, but you can see how important it is to be aware of how much of your award you're using relative to your other income in a given year. Let's see how this might look after a few years at a different income level. So, in another scenario to consider, let's say it's been a few years after service. This VISTA is now making $40,000 a year at a job where they're still paying taxes throughout the year. They then decide to use their entire education award that year as a full $5,775, which is added to their taxable income for that year. After subtracting credits and deductions, their taxable income is still $37,775, which has brought the VISTA into a higher tax bracket, so that may be more taxes to pay. So again, it's really going to depend on your own personal situation to decide when you want to use the education award. Some factors like having lower income versus higher income, or using all of the education award or only a part of it. Taxes can be really complicated, honestly, and they're a very personal subject for most people. Another way, I guess, to estimate your own tax liability is to download a recent 1040 form and estimate filling it out with your most recent tax rates and your estimated information for the coming year. When making a decision about using your education award, we suggest you first test this out to plan your tax liability. The 1040 form comes with instructions, and the IRS.gov website has many, many great resources to get you started. They have all of the information. They are the tax experts, so they know. On your screen right now, you'll see a couple other free resources and some things that we'll post in the chat. When it comes time to fill out your tax return, there's lots of programs and people available that can help. For those of you with an income of less than $53,000, which is probably most of you, I'd venture to say, considering that you're VISTAs, you can receive free in-person tax prep through VITA, the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. Free File is another great option to consider if you're looking for a quick way to file your taxes. When it's time to file your return, you simply choose a free filing service, download their software, and they'll walk you through the whole filing process. At the end, it'll submit it to the IRS, and you should be good to go. Free file services are available to those with a household income of $60,000 or less, and we'll drop a link in the chat to those to the different programs. If you do have lots of questions about your taxes, even after this hopefully enlightening talk I just gave, we suggest that you connect directly with someone from the IRS or a tax professional. We realize that this is an important topic for VISTAs, but please, please, please be aware that we are not able to give you personal tax advice. There's several ways you can contact the IRS and ask your questions. The IRS.gov website has a help and resources section, a contact us section, and there's a number of FAQs and tutorials to get you started. Of course, these resources are specific to federal taxes. If you have questions about your state taxes, my best advice is to look up your state's Department of Revenue and contact them directly. If you look in our chat, we got Leanna Hess, who says that she works at a VITA site. Thank you so much, Leanna. I hope you can maybe get in touch with some people, or people can contact you or get help. Or maybe you don't want all of these people contacting you, which is okay also. But glad to know that you work there. So we're going to turn it back over to Jen. Jen.
Thanks, Calvin, for sharing some important information about taxes with us. It's definitely on the minds of a lot of people, and particularly VISTAs, and how to use their Ed Award. So Now we are going to start looking ahead towards the future and the possibility of eliminating your student loan balance. To start, take a moment to think about your future career goals. Are you interested in a public sector career? If so, please share what types of public sector careers interest you. Please enter your ideas in the chat box and make sure you send to all participants.
Yeah, let's see. So let's see what you guys say. Are you interested in a public sector career? Jason Jensen says school counseling. That's very admirable. Catherine says public health. We got urban planning, epidemiology. I don't really exactly know what that is. If you know, please type it in the thing because I want to know what epidemiology is. I'm not up to speed on that one. Let's see. We got government ethics, school counseling, social work, anything in the arts. Go, Sarah. Not sure if it's public service, but the ministry. I think ministry is public service. So we got pastor, English as a foreign language, or second language, firefighting. You guys are a bunch of do-gooders, and it's great. Epidemiology, mapping disease spread. Oh, cool. That sounds fun. It's like the CDC. Fun fact, I was on the Ebola watch list because my roommate went to Africa once. That was good. Let's see, does this include any fields I can go into with a social work degree? Crystal, that's a hard question to answer. I have a business degree and I don't do anything with it. So if you go into any field, you can probably go in any field with a social work degree, but I'd say probably like in the same vein. You know, anything that kind of relates to social work could be considered public service. There's a full list on the where's the list? It's on the Public Service Loan Forgiveness website. They have a full list of things that count and don't count. So, yeah. Okay, so thanks for sharing, everyone. Please continue to post in there. Everyone can see it, and we'll keep reading it. Jen, can you share with us more about the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program?
Sure will, Calvin. So Public Service Loan Forgiveness is a loan forgiveness program that encourages graduates to choose a career in public service. It applies only to federal direct loans. So if you have Parent Plus loans or Perkins loans, you may consider consolidating them to take advantage of PSLF. If you consolidate, keep in mind that only payments you make on the new direct consolidation loan will count towards the PSLF. So if you make 120 on-time full monthly payments while employed by a qualifying public service organization, the remaining balance of your federal loans is forgiven. The employment and loan payments don't need to be consecutive, so you could work in public service for a few years, then take a corporate job, and then go back to nonprofit work. Only the payments made during your time in public service employment count towards the 120 credits, but this gives flexibility in how your career proceeds. You can also count previous payments as far back as 2007, since that's when the PSLF program started. The balance forgiven is not considered taxable income. So let's take a quick look at what types of employees qualify as public service employment. To begin, in order to qualify, it needs to be full-time employment. Public service employers include any local, state, or federal government organization, nonprofit organizations, as long as they are not partisan political organizations or labor unions, public schools, libraries, and related organizations. Some more examples of public service employment that qualify include emergency management, military service, public safety law enforcement services, public health services, public interest law services, early childhood education, public service for individuals with disabilities, and the elderly. To apply for PSLF, you will need to document your qualifying public service employment as you go. So each year, or at least each time you change jobs, you will need to complete the PSLF Employment Certification Form, have your employer verify it, and then submit the form to Fed Loan Servicing, which is the part of the Department of Education that manages PSLF. Fed Loan Servicing will review your employment certification and let you know whether it qualifies, if information is missing, or if they need additional documentation. They will also let you know how many qualifying payments you have made. Just an FYI for currently serving VISTAs and VISTA alums who would like to document their VISTA service term as qualifying public service employment. Please submit the PSLF form to the VMSU via the National Service Hotline fax. Once received, the VMSU will certify the employer section of the form based on your VISTA term information and return the form to you to submit to Fed Loan Servicing for processing. After making your 120th qualifying payment, you can submit the PSLF application form to request forgiveness of the balance of your direct loans. More details can be found online at the studentaid.ed.gov website. We'll include the link in the resources we share after this session. In combination with some of the other programs we've mentioned, it's possible to reduce the amount that you owe monthly and as a whole. Calvin is going to share about how he personally has made the most of these programs to reduce student loan burden. Calvin?
Yeah, I am going to tell you all about that. I'm going to let you guys into my personal life for a second, so please come on a journey with me. So I really want to share my personal experience and how some of the concepts and programs that we're talking about today apply to a real person and what I've learned by navigating this entire process. So I personally use income-based repayment and public service loan forgiveness to manage my student loan debt. Before serving my 2 terms in AmeriCorps, I had about $34,000 in student loan debt serviced by ACS and Fed Loan. Now, for my time serving in AmeriCorps and CCC, I earned $11,195 in education award funds, $2,900 in interest payments, and I was able to claim 13 months of credit towards my public service loan forgiveness. While serving, I took advantage of the National Service Forbearance and the interest payments to reduce the burden of living on a fixed stipend. However, if I would have had all of the information that I have now and all of the information that we're hoping to impart on you, I might have done things just a little bit differently. But before we get to that part, let me break down what I actually did. So, when I started my service with AmeriCorps, I had graduated college just 3 weeks before, and my loans were already up for repayment. So I immediately put them into the National Service Forbearance. At the end of my first year, I made an interest payment to both of my servicers. I knew that I was going to do a second year of service, so I used my education award to kind of make a payment for that month in between my 2 terms, because I didn't want to come out of pocket for that kind of gap month. Luckily, it was only 1 payment because before I took advantage of income-based repayment, my payments were about $250 each for a total of about $500 a month, which, as all of you know, is huge. It's a lot of money. So it was honestly very, very nice to have the education award to help me with this payment between my periods of National Service Forbearance. Going into my second year of service, I placed my loans into forbearance again, and I didn't really think about them until my year was up. At the end of my second year, I made a lump sum payment of about $10,670 towards one of my servicers, ACS, to get rid of my loans with them and to generally bring myself down to 1 loan servicer, Fed Loan. My reason for this was to have 1 less payment each month to rid myself of a large chunk of debt, and because Fed Loan was way more willing to work with me on payments and help me out and give me a payment that I could afford. After my 2 years of service with AmeriCorps, during which my loans were in forbearance, the salary at my first job was about $30,000. So, using income-based repayment and my lump sum payment, I was able to get my single payment down to a manageable $100 a month, which is, as math says, is a savings of about $400 a month. As my salary has increased, my payment amount has gone up slightly, but with public service loan forgiveness, I'll still end up paying significantly less than my full balance over the course of my 120 payments. This whole strategy worked out really well for me, but after doing a few tens of hours of research and multiple presentations like this on the topic, I would definitely do some things differently, knowing what I know now. So let's talk about that. If I could go back with my current knowledge, I would have only put my loans in ACS. I would have only put my loans through ACS into forbearance and used income-based repayment for my loans through Fed Loan. ACS was way less flexible with the terms of repayment, and through income-based repayment with Fed loan, my payment would have been very small or even $0. I think I saw some people in the chat say, yeah, my payment's $0. Do I still get credit for those payments? Yeah, you still get credit for them. So if I would have gotten my payment down to $0, this would have allowed me to get 12 public service loan credits for my first year of service, 12 credits for my second year, and 12 additional credits for making a lump sum payment at the end of my 2 years of service, for a total of 36 credits instead of the 13 that I received. Instead, I made only one payment over the course of my 2 years and earned 12 credits, which is from my lump sum payment, which is the maximum amount, for a total of 13 credits, which is a really big difference. So I've learned that the distinction between earning public service loan forgiveness credit from paying out of pocket monthly and earning credits from using your education award is very important. You can only receive a maximum of 12 public service loan forgiveness credits from a lump sum payment using the education award. If I had been paying all my loans both years of service, I would have received 24 credits plus an additional 12 from using my education award, instead of just the 12 that I was able to get using only the education award. Now, if you remember back on slide 22, we showed you how to make an education award request. Well, this is what the summary of those requests look like. As you can see, I made a total of 7 requests for the use of my education award. 4 were interest payment requests, 2 monthly payments for the month between my service years, and 1 lump sum payment request. So yeah, as you see, like the first one is my lump sum, $10,666 bucks. Got rid of my loans with ACS. I made some interest payments and 1 monthly payment in there. So you can use the education award to make as many payments as you can towards your loans, but you're only eligible to receive the interest payment once for each loan that you have in forbearance. For me, my tax implications were fairly minor because even though I used over $10,000 of my education award at once, the income for my service year was so low that I didn't get bumped into a new tax bracket. Now, keep in mind that this is going to vary wildly from person to person, and no two people's situation is going to be the same. It's really important to take a look at your personal financial picture before making any drastic moves. So the end result, I only have 1 servicer to deal with now, and I use income-based repayment to keep my payments manageable while working towards my 120 public service loan forgiveness payments. By using all of the resources available, I have a pretty comfortable relationship with my student loan debt. I wish it didn't exist, but, we're cohabiting very nicely. I feel confident in my ability to pay it off with the least amount of financial burden. So that being said, thanks, Jen, for letting me speak for a minute, but I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Calvin. I think that demonstration of Calvin's personal, how he worked with public loan forgiveness, and it was very interesting, and I hope that it helps people out there when they're looking at their own personal situation and have to make decisions about how to go forward. So as we start to wrap up, let's review some thoughts on how to get the most out of what is available during service. For those with federal loans, you'll want to consider if it makes more sense to postpone loan payments or to make low payments. If you put them in forbearance while in service, you get to put your payments on hold and have the accrued interest taken care of at the end of your service. If you are earning a cash stipend, ask your lender about other programs that they may have to help you manage your loans. If you want to get additional payment credits towards public service loan forgiveness, you might choose to make payments during service. Using income-based repayment, you could get your payments down to almost nothing and have those count towards your 120 payments without actually having to pay anything. So be aware, you can't put your federal loans in forbearance and make payments using income-based repayment at the same time. It's one or the other. For those of you with Perkins loans, these are not eligible for income-based repayment or PSLF, or Public Service Loan Forgiveness. However, for each year of VISTA service you complete, you can get 15% of your Perkins loan balance forgiven. For this to be worthwhile, your Perkins balance would need to be at least $37,000. If that's the case, here's what you would do. Select the cash stipend as your end-of-service benefit. You can't get the Ed Award and the 15% loan forgiveness. It's one or the other. Put your loan in deferment based on financial hardship, and that would be with your lender. And then at the successful completion of your VISTA term, 15% of your Perkins balance is forgiven, and the Department of Education will pay off the interest that accumulated while your loan was in deferment. To learn more details about options for VISTAs who have Perkins loans, visit the link that's posted in the chat window. So no matter the decisions in service, these benefits extend well into your life after VISTA. When your service is over, keep making income-based IBR payments in order to receive credits towards your PSLF. Using your Education Award to make payments is a great way to help transition out of VISTA service and into permanent employment. Payments from the Education Award must be done manually each month. Also keep in mind that if you are in forbearance during your service and would like to get PSLF credit, you must make a lump sum payment equal to 12 times what your regular monthly payment would be. For example, if your regular monthly payment would be $100, you would make a $1,200 payment using your Education Award to receive PSLF credit for your service. Remember, you can only receive 12 total credits from a lump sum payment. And when your 120 monthly payments have been made, you will be able to apply for loan forgiveness. The PSLF program started in 2007, so the earliest that anyone could receive the benefit of forgiveness would be 2017. So here are some immediate next steps we recommend you want to take as a follow-up to this session. 1, know what type of loans you have. 2, take a look at the Education Award website. 3, check with your lender if you've already placed your loan or loans in forbearance or deferment. 4, explore the income-based repayment plan and public service loan forgiveness program. And 5, make sure your lender is listed at www.nationalservice.gov/resources/edaward. And here are some of the resources that we shared with you during this session. Of course, there's my.americorps.gov, the main portal website. This is where you submit forbearance, interest accrual, and associated payment requests. Studentloans.gov. This is a great website for all things related to student loans. IRS.gov. This is where you will get guidance and assistance on tax-related topics. MyFedLoan.org. This is the website where you get assistance with PSLF, processing, and verification. They also have great FAQs on that website. National Service Hotline. This is where you would call if you need to submit a paper request. And lastly, VMSU. I noticed in the chat some people didn't know what that stood for, so I'm sorry about that. We are the VISTA Member Support Unit, VMSU. We will assist with the my.americorps.gov website. We assist with forbearance requests, interest requests, or other benefits-related questions. Calvin?
Yeah, thanks, Jen. So we are going to switch over now to the Q&A section. You guys have a lot of questions, which is really great, and I promise we're going to, try to answer all of them that we can. But before we get to that, I really want to take a second. On the right side of your screen, you'll see a quick poll where you can share feedback about this webinar. Please take a moment to answer these questions. We really want to be able to improve these webinars, and your input helps us so much. We get a full report of all of your comments, all of your ratings, and we make decisions about these based on those comments, and we're always striving to improve. So please take a second to fill out that poll while we're answering questions. It'll be open throughout the remainder of the presentation, but I can't stress enough how much it really helps us in planning and making these the best that they can for you guys. So we've given you a lot to think about. I mean, someone said, this is so much information. Are we going to have access to this later? Yes, you will. This is going to be posted to the VISTA campus. A recording of this will be, along with all of the resources that we shared. So be sure to check for that. you're going to receive an email when it's posted, so just looking out for that email. So we're going to focus on questions that will likely be of interest to audience members or to other audience members, and best for the general audience. And we'll maybe refer questions that get into a lot of personal details to the National Service Hotline or VMSU so that you can get an answer tailored specifically to your situation. Now, you can ask a question using the Q&A panel located to the lower right of your screen. And we'll also ask our operator to let us know how to ask questions by phone.
Thank you. We'll now begin the question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question, please press *1. You'll be prompted to record your name. Please be sure to unmute your phone. Once again, if you would like to ask a question on the phone lines, please press *1 and record your name.
All right, thank you so much. So again, we'll be checking in on the phone to see if anyone's on there. I do want to say before we start questions, Debbie, your chat is very funny. She says, that seems so crazy to me that you can receive credits for a $0 payment, and that's correct. I mean, if your payment is $0 a month, that's how much you're required to pay, and that counts as a full payment. It counts towards your 120 credits. So I'm just going to start going down the list. Let's see, Hunter Fillers says, if my service began in July and my loans are in grace period until December, should I pay the interest up until December when I can enter forbearance, or will AmeriCorps cover the interest from the start of my service regardless of the forbearance? Good question. So the answer to that question is AmeriCorps will only pay the interest that is accrued while your loans are in forbearance. So if your loans are in forbearance for only 6 months of your service, we'll only pay the interest that is accrued over those 6 months. So please factor that in when making any financial decisions. Let's see, can CNCS pay for interest? This is from Jocelyn Lopez. Can CNCS pay for interest accrued during income-driven repayment where your payment is $0? The answer is no. CNCS and AmeriCorps will only pay for interest that is accrued while your loans are in forbearance. If you're in a period of repayment and your payment is $0, we have no way of tracking the interest that is accruing, so we won't pay for that interest. Let's see, Rachel Overmeyer says, I bet Jen knows the question. Jen knows the answer to this question. Does the CNCS pay interest for 2 years if I serve 2 years as a VISTA?
Yes, it does. So for every year that you serve and you complete service, you will have access to, once you've completed service and ended that term, you will have access on your member home page to the interest accrual payment, link, and that's when you would ask the corporation to pay the interest that accrued, for that term of service.
Cool. Thanks. All right, so we got another question from Aaron Sullivan who says, Aaron says, if I'm still in the grace period for paying my student loans, can I still request forbearance, or do I have to wait until the grace period is over? Aaron, you got to wait until that grace period is over. Your loans need to be in an active period of repayment for you to request a forbearance. Let's see. Pedro says, if when we're going for 2 years of VISTA service or more, do we wait until we completely finish our service to fill out the interest payment request, or do we do it yearly? Jen, can you answer that one?
Okay, so to fill out interest accrual, you're asking about interest accrual. Well, you would do it at the end of your service. Are you asking, or are you talking about PSLF?
Yeah, so you're saying, if they're doing 2 years of service, do they fill out the interest request at the end of each year, or do they do it at the end of their full, 2 years?
Sure, sorry. Yes. For the interest accrual payments, you would do it at the end of each year. You would request for the payment to be made once you completed a term of service.
Perfect. Cool, thanks. Ashley Pinamati, how do I figure out if consolidating my public loans is worth it? Ashley, that's a really deep question, and again, it's very personal, and it depends on each person's situation. I think some important things to think about are your payment amount to see, is my payment amount going to go up? Is it going to go down? If you currently have 3 loans and you're paying, $100 on each one of them, that's $300. Whereas if you consolidate them, maybe your payment would go down to $150 or $200. Again, it's really hard to say because I don't know your loan amounts. So that'd be an excellent question to talk to Fed Loan about, or the Department of Education, because they'll be able to kind of talk through that with you and say, hey, this is your situation, let's lay it out. and let's try to make the best option for you. Let's see, Alyssa Shaw, how do we know if our loan provider is federal, how do we know if our loan is a federal direct loan? The best way to do that is to call your servicer, call them and ask them, say, hey, and what kind of loan do I have? And they'll tell you, they'll give you that answer. Let's see. Tiara Finley, I've received a bill request on my student loans. Since I have sent in my forbearance request, do I still have to pay this bill, or will that fall into the forbearance period? Tiara, this is where you're going to want to work really closely with your servicer. Give them a call and say, hey, I've submitted this request. Have you received it? If you haven't, let me resubmit it. And ask them that question. Say, okay, what do I owe you right now? Will I need to owe anything in the future? Like, how do I avoid owing you something while waiting on this forbearance request to come through? So give them a call, work really closely with them on that one, and see what they say. Let's see. Zach, we answered that question about interest accrual. We'll only pay it for the time that it's in forbearance. Let's see. Amber Middleton, also, can you have the lump sum payment of the education award count as 12 months of payments for PSLF? Yes, you can. What you would do is call your servicer. You ask them, how much would a normal monthly payment be, and you make that payment times 12 to your servicer. This is another time when you want to be in really good contact with your servicer and say, hey, I'm sending you over $1,200. This is my intent for it, and this is what I want to happen with this money. They may not automatically know that you want that split up into 12 public service loan forgiveness payments, so you're going to have to call them and say, hey, this is my intention for that money. Let's see, Ashley, what is a PSLF credit the equivalent of? 1 month of payment? So you need 120 credits to be done? You do, so that's 10 years. One PSLF credit is equivalent to 1 month of payment. Let's see. Chelsea says, I'm confused about credits and how to maximize the number of payments for my year of service. So while I can't tell you exactly what to do, I can give you, again, some things that I wish I would have done. I would have tried to get my payments down to as low as I possibly could and kept paying them throughout my year of service so that I got a credit for each one of those payments. And then at the end of my year, you can submit a lump request or submit a lump sum payment and get an additional 12 credits. So you can essentially get 2 years of payments out of your 1 year of service. If you do 2 years of service, you can get 3 years of credits out of that 2 years of service by just continuing to pay on your loans both years and then submitting that lump sum request. But you can only get a maximum of 12 credits for any lump sum payment. Let's see. Oh, Jen, this one's for you. It's coming at you. Can you get your interest paid by CNCS if you've chosen to do income-based repayment and not forbearance?
Well, yes. Actually, I don't know. That's not a tricky question. Okay. It's a different question.
The answer is no. We won't pay the interest if you've chosen to do income-based repayment because you need to be in a period of forbearance for us to track the interest that is accrued.
There we go. Yes. Sorry, I should have known that.
It's okay. Let's see. Lauren says, can I still make payments that count towards PSLF if I'm in graduate school? So the answer to that is that you have to be employed. You have to be working full-time in a public service position. If you're in grad school, I'm not sure if you're working also, but just being in grad school does not count as public service, so you wouldn't get credit for those for that time unless you're working full-time in public service. Let's see. Tyler James, if I selected to receive the cash stipend and already requested for loan forbearance, can I change to the education award and resubmit for the forbearance request? The answer is yeah, you can. Oh, actually, sorry, no, you can't. If you've chosen the stipend and you were already activated for service with that, you can't change it back to the education award. So I'm very sorry about that, Tyler. Maybe next year, if you decide to do another year of service, you can select the education award and get the forbearance request. But currently, since you have the stipend selected, you cannot get the forbearance, and you cannot go back and ask and switch over to the Education Award. Yeah, but and as Imani says, the Education Award can be changed to the stipend, but if you do that, there's no going back from it. Okay. Oh, sorry, I should check on the phone. Do we have any questions on the phone?
We do have a question. Vivian, your line is open.
Wonderful. Hi, Vivian.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, good, good. What's going on? All right, what's the question?
I just have a question. I've already gone to school and I have loans. Can I use my Education Award to go back to school even though I have those loans? And is there any stipulation that I have to be paying on them? Or since I'm in school again, they'll be in deferment? How does that work?
Oh, okay. This is a great question. So you definitely can use your Education Award to go back to school. That's one of the other great uses of the Education Award. So you can either use it to pay back student loans or use it towards future education. We don't put a stipulation on, if you have loans, it has to be used for that, or if you don't, it has to be used for future education. So the things with the Education Award are that it has to be, you have to use it at a Title IV institution, which is an institution that accepts federal funds, which is most of them, honestly. Most colleges, most universities. A full list of those can be found on the FAFSA website, but if it's like a pretty big school, chances are they accept federal funds.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, did that answer it?
Yeah, that was great, thanks.
Okay, good, good, good. Do we have anyone else on the phone?
We have another question on the phone lines from Philip Armstrong. Your line is open.
Wonderful. Hi, Philip.
Hi, is it okay if I ask two questions?
Yeah, for sure. Go for it.
Okay, so I'm currently in a VISTA term. I'm just finishing up. And so if I want to get the public service loan forgiveness, then would I make a lump sum payment and have them divided into 12, or just have a lump sum payment that would cover, my public loan service forgiveness for the 12 months? And also, I would fill out that employment form at the same time.
That's correct. Okay, so the steps towards the public service loan forgiveness are to go to it's under the Department of Education. You can go there, type in PSLF in their search bar, it will take you straight to the form. And basically what it is an employment certification form that you fill out, you send it to the VMSU. The VMSU says, yes, this person did a year of service, they sign off on it, we send it back to you, you send it back to the Department of Ed, they say, cool. And then you contact your lender and say, hey, I'm trying to get credit for my year of service that I just did. How much do I need to pay you to cover 12 months so that I can get these 12 public service loan forgiveness credits? And they'll be able to tell you the exact amount that you need to request and send to them.
Okay, and whether I would do it as just one lump or as 12 separate payments?
Oh, so you do it as one lump sum payment because you're already done with your year. So in order to get credit for the year that you just did, it has to be a lump sum. And then going forward, you can use your Education Award to make monthly payments that will count, for each month in the future. Does that make sense?
You're saying I'm not understanding about using the Education Award in the future, because if I've already made the lump sum payment, then there's nothing left to pay in the future.
Oh, I mean, if your Education Award covers your entire, loan amount, then you can just pay it off. But I'm saying, I think you said that you're about to finish a year of service, so you're almost done. I don't know, have you been making payments already?
No, my loans are in deferment.
Okay, perfect.
I mean, forbearance, forbearance, not deferment.
Forbearance, okay, yeah. So what you would do is the lump sum payment that you make at the end of your service covers that year that you just served, so all 12 of those months. And then, you'll still have a monthly payment to pay, and you can use your Education Award to pay each one of those monthly payments. And then each one of those payments going forward, as long as you're employed in some sort of public service, would count as another credit towards your public service loan forgiveness.
Okay, then the second question I have is, this is actually my second VISTA year, and I didn't, I got the Education Award for my previous year of service, and I had it applied to, I have a bunch of different loans, subsidized and unsubsidized Stafford loans, but I didn't, know about filling out the employment form and about, that I had to do something to get the public service loan forgiveness for those 12 months. And so is that water under the bridge? It's too late to do that?
No, it's not. So the program started in 2007, and at any point from 2007 forward that you worked in some sort of public service sector, you can receive credit for payments that were made during that time. So if you worked in a public service in 2009 and you're making payments, you can get credit for those payments. You just have to submit that form to whoever your employer was at the time, so they can certify and just say, yeah, this person worked with us, from this date to this date, and then they'll match that up with the payments that you made and give you credit for those payments.
Okay, but I was, during the, my previous VISTA term, which was 12 months, I wasn't making any payments because of having my loans in forbearance. And I did make the lump sum payment at the end, but I didn't ask them to, spread it over 12 months or anything like that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. What I would do is get in touch with your lender and say, hey, does that payment count as a lump sum? Because if it does count, if they counted it as like a lump sum payment, then you can only do that one time. And if it's not for the full 12 credits, then you might miss out on that full, 12 credits. Maybe they counted it as 2. But I would definitely give them a call and ask them that question. Okay,
so, what I'm saying I did was I took the whole education award and I paid it on my subsidized and unsubsidized student loans, but I didn't say anything about, counting that as the payments that I have to be making each of those 12 months.
Right. So you just made the payment and didn't, say anything like, hey, I want to use this towards public service loan forgiveness?
Yes.
All right, so again, I would give them a call and say, hey, I made this lump sum payment at this point. Can we count that, towards my credits going forward?
Mm-hmm.
They may say yes, they may say no. I'm not sure on that one.
Well, I'll tell them you said they should give it to me.
Don't have them coming after me. I don't need that.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Philip. Do we have any other questions on the phone?
That was great. Thank you.
Let me check one moment. Looks like there's another question.
All right, cool.
I'm sorry, this question comes from Alicia. Your line is open.
Hi, Alicia.
Oh, thank you so much. So I wrote this question, but I think it just might have been missed, or I missed the response to it. But my mother is getting really anxious because she's getting notifications about paying back on the Direct Parent Plus loan she filled out my first and second years. And they're asking for a ridiculous amount, like $300 a month. And so I don't know what's the best thing to do to make it so that she doesn't have to pay anything, because she quite literally can't pay at all.
Right. So the thing about Parent Plus loans are that they are not in your name, so they are not eligible for use of Education Award Funds or the National Service Forbearance. It's only able to be used for loans that are in your name, which Parent Plus loans are not. They're in your parent's name. So what that means is that the best route to go is to contact the lender directly and say, hey, I'm doing a year of national service, and I'm requesting either deferment or some sort of interest-based repayment based on financial hardship, because I'm serving as an AmeriCorps VISTA member, and see what they say. But unfortunately, the Education Award Funds can't be used towards Parent Plus loans.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Once again, if you would like to ask a question, please press *1 and record your name. We have no other questions waiting at this moment.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, Sharon says, can I change my cash award to 0? I don't think I get that question. And I don't know why you'd want to do that. So if you have more clarification, please let me know. Because, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't answer that question because I don't have any contacts for it. Okay, let's see what else we got. trying to find some new questions here, and it looks like maybe they've mostly been answered. Let's see, does anyone, Jen, do you see any new questions in there?
No, I mean, that's what I'm trying to see. That was fine.
I've got one. Oh, well, Chandra says, how long does the loan consolidation and IBR application process take? It's possible to start the process when my loans are still in forbearance so that I can already have an IBR plan in place in my service years. And Chandra, the answer to that question is that it's going to depend on your personal situation. I think for loan consolidation, there's a little bit more paperwork than there is for the income-based repayment. And I'm not sure if you can set it up before your loans are actually up for payment. That'd be a question for your lender. So yeah, call them and ask them and say, hey, can I do this? And they'll be able to give you an answer and let you know about how long it'll take with processing times and all that. Let's see. Anything else we got? Jesse Womack says, I technically have 4 different federal direct loans now. Can I enter individual loans into forbearance to avoid the ones with higher interest rates during my year of service? So what I'm getting from this is that you have 4 different loans. Yes, so you can, if you have 4 different loans with 4 different lenders, you can submit a forbearance request for each one of those loans, and how you pick and choose is up to you. If they're with the same lender, I'm not sure that you can differentiate between, I want this loan to be in forbearance, I want this one not to be. That would be something you'd work out with your lender, so I'd give them a call and ask them if that's going to be an option. But again, if it's 4 different lenders, you can submit a forbearance request for all 4 of those. Let's see, is the Ed Award always worth 12 payments, or does it depend on your current monthly payment amount? Is the Ed Award always worth 12 payments, or does it depend on your current monthly payment amount? So it's going to go based on whatever your normal monthly payment amount is. I had to call and ask them this question. So when you call them and they give you a number, they say, hey, I need to know what my monthly payment amount, what do I need to pay to get these 12 credits? They'll give you the amount. It may be what you're currently paying, or it may be a higher amount, but you'll have to call them to get that amount that you'll have to pay. So whatever your monthly is, you pay it times 12. Let's see. Does IBR cover consolidated loans? I believe it does. But contact your lender to say, hey, can I put these in the income-based repayment? If they're federally backed student loans, typically they do, but call your lender and ask them that question. Again, a lot of these things you just have to be really, really proactive about and stay on them, and stay on your lender and asking your questions because they have all the answers. Rumi Watts, can I use the Education Award to make separate monthly payments? Use $200 a month by the award to pay my loans instead of my income, kind of like a gift card. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like a gift card, but I get what you're saying. Yes, you can use the Education Award to make your monthly payments. I did that, for a month or 2 just while I was in between jobs or trying to figure things out. Yeah, so you just, you send your whatever amount that you need to send to your lender every month. There's no way to automate that process, so you do have to send a payment every single month to your lender. All right, so we've got about 3 minutes left here. I'm going to check one more time on the phone. Do we have any other questions on the phone?
We have no questions on the phone lines at this time.
All right, wonderful. And let's see, it's looking like I think we've got to all of them or most of them. Let's see, Jordan Deaton says, are there any types of programs where we can have an individual sit down with us and go through our loans with us? I was a first-gen college student, so all these loans are super new to my family and no one has a clue what's going on. Jordan, that is an excellent question and a not unfamiliar situation. I myself was also a first-gen college student, so I get what you're saying. Loans are very confusing, and there's a lot to know. And I can tell you, I only know what I know just based on, just really doing hours of reading and hours of research on my own and through trial and error. one option you have, the VMSU are not financial advisors, but maybe they can give you some tips and tricks on how to manage your student loans, how it relates to the education award. So, I mean, you can always give them a call. They may refer you somewhere else, but give them a call, you know, to get started with that conversation. Let's see. All right. Well, I think we are just about done here. Again, guys, if you have questions lingering or anything that we didn't get to, please give the VMSU a call. A quick Google search will do you wonders. Check out the edaward.gov website. Check out the Department of Education website. If you go there, type in PSLF, I promise they will answer almost every question that you have. That's where I go. When people ask me questions I don't know the answer to, I go straight to the Department of Ed website. I look at their FAQs. It's lots of pages long because it's very, very informative. There's even questions specific to the Education Award, the AmeriCorps Education Award, so you can get lots of information there. I want to say thanks everyone so much for joining our webinar today. Let's see. I hope that you can join us on our next webinar. I'll go ahead and plug that. Our next webinar is Social Media Strategies for Advancing Your Project, and that's going to be on September 21st. Check under the webinars page under the Connect and Learn to sign up for future webinars. Thank you so much, Jen, for helping me out today and for being on this webinar. You're amazing and wonderful.
Thanks, Calvin. It was my pleasure. I hope I was helped out.
Oh, totally, totally. And guys, if you call the VMSU, maybe you'll be lucky enough to get in touch with Jennifer. She is a wealth of knowledge and has been there for a while and knows so much about the VISTA program. Thanks everyone. Again, sign up for those future webinars. This is going to be posted in about a week. You'll receive an email. We hope to see you again. Bye.